Hey guys, welcome back. So like I said in my last video, I'm going to be posting a little more magic content from now on. I'm tired of not doing it. I'm ready to do what I want to do. I'm going to be posting everything on here, but I'm not going to be relying on TikTok that much anymore. So I'm going to be posting mostly on Blue Sky and YouTube. So if you haven't already, links in the bio. Go ahead and give me a follow over on YouTube, subscribe, whatever it is. Anyways, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite decks I like to play with my pod and just whenever I'm out and about is going to be Jodah, the Unifier. Alright, so I pulled out all the cards that are kind of really focal points of the deck itself. But first, we're going to look at what he actually does. Jodah, the Unifier, is a Wooburg, a legendary creature, human wizard. He reads that legendary creatures I control get +X+X, where X is the number of legendary creatures I control. Whenever I cast a legendary spell from my hand, exile cards from the top of my library until I exile a legendary non-land card with lesser mana value. I may cast that card without paying its mana cost, but the rest at the bottom of my library in any order. So, with that being said, it's a fun little cascade without being cascade, you know? So, one of the big things about it is I want that to happen as much as possible, right? So, one of the things that I got is going to be Virtue and Knowledge, mostly I can use this as well, copy target activated or triggered ability I control. I may choose new targets for the copy, but mostly for this side, the actual enchantment side. If a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent I control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So, with Jodah, triggers twice if I have this out. It's going to be the same thing for Elishnor and Mother of Machines. She's a 4/7 vigilance. Permanents entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent I control to trigger. The ability triggers additional time. And then this is just a bonus too. Permanents entering the battlefield do not cause abilities of permanents opponents control to trigger. Words. And then one more is Annie joins up. Whenever this enchantment comes out, deal 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker opponent controls. And then kind of the same thing, triggered ability of legendary creature I control triggers an additional time. So if I have all 3 of these out, Jodah triggers 4 times. And I love that. But all of these things are kind of expensive, right? So that's where, wrong one. That's where these are going to come in. As you can see, there's quite a few different ones. There's Relic of Legends, it taps for any color, and then I could tap a legendary creature I control to create any colored mana. Chromatic Lantern, lands I control tap for any color, it also taps for any color. We got Savala, Heart of the Wilds. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, its controller may draw a card if its power is greater than each other creature's power. Most of the time, I'm going to be getting the card draw triggers, just because Jodah is buffing all of these creatures, right? But the main thing for her is the mana ability. Pay a green, tap it, add X mana of any combination of colors, where X is the greatest power among creatures I control. So that's a lot of value. That's a lot of mana. But we also have Elven Chorus. I may look at the top of my library at any time, cast creature spells from the top of my library. Not going to be doing that too much because that's not going to trigger Jodah. Jodah, I have to cast from my hand. So, but creatures I control tap for any colored mana. So that's just another way. We have Growing Rights of Itlamok. Basically, kind of the same thing, but I have to have the right conditions. I tap 4 or more creatures for it to transform. When it transforms into a legendary land where it taps for a single green or add green for each creature I control. So, you know, a lot of these cards have green in it, so it's very beneficial, but it also just fills in the generic mana cost as well. We got Igna and Isika. I can never say it right, I apologize. But kind of the same thing, it gives all my creatures vigilance, which is great. But they also tap for any colored mana, I can only spend it to cast a creature spell, which is awesome. But whenever I cast a creature spell, if 3 or more mana from creatures was spent to cast it, draw a card. So there's some extra card draw value. We got Virtue of Strength as well for the enchantment side. If I tap a basic land for mana, it produces 3 times as much mana. So more mana. And then we have Kaluth, Kalutha? Yeah, whatever. Unrivaled Ancient. It's a big dragon, and I love it. Flying in haste, and whenever it attacks, add X mana in any combination of colors where X is the total power of attacking creatures. So, depending on how many is out, if I attack with this as well as something else, add that all together, that's a crap ton of mana because it's mana in any combination of colors. So, that's amazing. And then we have this, just in case if I don't have Jodah out already, I can just tap it, throw up the 5 mana that I need, and then bring out Jodah. So, I do not have it as the companion just because I do not meet the qualifications for it to be a companion. But anyways, we're now going to go on to this, where it's more card draw, essentially. Whenever I cast a historic spell, so that's legendaries, artifacts, or sagas, card draw. Whenever I cast a creature with power 4 or greater, that's going to be like 90% of the time, 99% of the time with this deck. Also gives all my creatures trample, which is great, but card draw for power 4 or greater. We got Beast Whisper. That's going to cause at least 2 triggers by casting 1 spell because of Jodah. And then we got Vega the Watcher. Whenever I cast a spell from anywhere other than my hand, draw a card. So also a trigger from Jodah, which is fantastic. So we have some other things to help out in case I'm struggling on certain colors. Leyline of the Guild Pact. All my permanents are all colors. Lands I control are every basic land type. So they can tap for any color essentially. And then we got Animar, Soul of the Elements. Basically, whenever I cast a creature spell, put a 1/1 counter on him. Creature spells cost 1 less to cast for each 1/1 counter on him. Now, Jodah buffing him is not going to count because they're not 1/1 counters. It's just a static +X ability on him. But still, he also has protection from white and black, which is really crucial removal spells, which is fantastic, and I love it. So that's very, very helpful with that. So let's see. We're going to go, I don't have too many here, but basically some attack triggers just to help buff stuff up. We got Helena and Elena partners for strike and reach. At the beginning of combat on my turn, put X 1/1 counters on another target creature I control where X is her power. That creature gains haste till end of turn. So this would be a good combination with Animar, Soul of the Elements, put those 1 counters on him. Just already make all my creatures cost a lot less, you know. Another one I got is Morag, Fury of Akun. Sure. Creatures I control get +1/+0 for each time it has attacked this turn. It has a landfall trigger, which I just feel like is broken. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under my control, if it's my main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this phase. At the beginning of your combat, untap all creatures that you control. So I can tap all my creatures for mana, and then right when I go to combat, I untap them all. So I can have a bunch of extra mana value in that. But then we also have Karlach, Fury of Avernus. Kind of the same thing in an extra combat phase, which is fantastic. But all my creatures will get first strike in addition to that. So that is pretty freaking sick if you ask me. So I'm kind of running out of time. I apologize, I'm not going fast enough. But if I can get my stuff together. We're gonna kind of just go through real quick some more crucial ones. Mirren, the Clan of Nelth. Play stuff from my graveyard based on how many experience counters I have. I get an experience counter whenever something I control dies. We got Teshar, Ancestor's Apostle. Whenever I cast a historic spell, I can return a target creature card with mana value 3 or less from my graveyard to the battlefield. I have quite a few that are 3 or less in this just because just the value that it can give. We got Kellen the Kid, where basically if I cast something from exile with Jodah, depending on the mana value, I can cast something from a hand that's less mana value than the exiled card that I casted from my hand, if that makes sense. I don't know. We got Maelstrom Nexus, Cascade, Rashimi. Basically, reveal the top card in my library. I can play it for free. Theron, Temple Gateway. And then we just have some protection stuff. Whenever one or more creatures attack, they gain indestructible. Give all my stuff hexproof. Cost 3 more to target my commander. And then each legendary permanent has ward 2. So Sorry for the rush at the end, but that's kind of like the focal points. Also, just to be really mean, I threw in Smothering Tithe and Heuristic Study. So, I am the villain.